Recent rail issues and the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, have given some people a convenient stick to beat Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. One of his leading critics is Marco Rubio. The Florida senator has been slamming Buttigieg in interviews and on social media for several days now. But now Buttigieg has found some dark Brandon energy and he has hit back. When Rubio mocked Buttigieg on Twitter, calling him an incompetent person who fantasizes about his political future and needs to be fired, Buttigieg hit back saying, quote, "The facts don't lie. The 2021 letter you signed was obviously drafted by railroad industry lobbyists. It supports waivers that would reduce visual track inspections. Now, will you vote to help us toughen rail safety, accountability, and fines or not?" End quote. Watch this.
One thing he could do is express support for reversing the deregulation that happened on his watch. I heard him say he had nothing to do with it, even though it was in his administration. So if he had nothing to do with it and they did it in his administration against his will, maybe he could come out and say that he supports us moving in a different direction.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg joins me now. And, you know, the sort of theatrics of Donald Trump being in Palestine were odd, but this is a community that voted overwhelmingly for him. The county that Palestine is in voted 71-29 for Donald Trump. And I just want you to sort of reflect on the irony. In 2016, it was 68-26. This is a Trump county. What do you make of the fact that he went there, despite the fact that the regulations that he rolled back were partly responsible for this tragedy?
I mean, it was definitely an ironic thing to do. You take down regulations, you water down regulations, you weaken the power of the administration to deal with freight railroad companies, and then you show up wanting to be a great friend of the people who have been impacted by a rail disaster. This is somebody who, as far as I know, never went to a derailment site when one of those happened on his watch, and there were thousands, even ones with fatalities, never even sent his transportation secretary to go. Now that it's campaign season, I guess things are different. We were there to work. We were there to get things done. And I'm really glad I had the opportunity to be there, because I got to tell you, the people I spent time with in East Palestine, we didn't talk politics. I'm sure most of them are on the other side politically, but that didn't come up. What came up was how concerned they are for their community. Spent time with the mayor, spent time with folks in local government who are trying to do everything from make sure people have access to good information about health to making sure people have access to good information about water, keeping that waterworks and wastewater operation going. And, you could sense a level of frustration with the political circus that has descended on their town after they've already been through so much fear, so much disruption, and none of it their fault. None of it because of anything that they did wrong, other than just the consequence of living where they live. And they deserve to be safe, and they deserve to know they're going to be taken care of. By the way, part of what is going to make sure they're taken care of is the work of the EPA. The EPA administrator has been there twice. The EPA is the agency that's been able to make sure that Norfolk Southern is paying for the remediation. The EPA came under a lot of attack, as you know, under the last administration, but it's another agency alongside our Department of Transportation and all of the other agencies that are on the ground. I met dozens of folks on the federal side, so many folks from the state, so many local officials doing everything in their power to help this community. And, what I saw was public servants from all levels of government, including levels of government that have been vilified, doing everything they can to make these residents better off, and residents who deserve to make sure, even when the circus goes, that that they're going to be taken care of.
Let me ask you, because you mentioned political silly season, and it is. I mean, it's a campaign season. One of the people who've taken a lot of the blame and taken a lot of the brickbats is you. Senator Marco Rubio has said you should resign. There's been a lot of criticism over the time it took to arrive, for you to personally go, for the president to...
And let us tell you that Rubio was not the only Florida GOP figure to feel the sharp edge of Buttigieg's tongue. Marco Rubio in a Twitter war with Buttigieg. Have you gotten into a social media fight with anyone, Mr. Tikas? What are we all talking about?
I sometimes you'll get me
at the wrong time.
At the wrong time, and I engage, and it's such the worst thing I've ever done.
You cannot engage crazy.
I do not engage.
No, you can't engage crazy. You have to finish that line.
No, just like you just can't. You cannot talk. You can't.
You can't. Now, Buttigieg doesn't have that luxury that he's got to avoid people like Marco Rubio. You know, I met him once and he had like the sweatiest handshake.
Marco Rubio is like if Ricky Martin didn't take care of himself and had like 6 kids and like lived somewhere.
And was a foot shorter.
Lived somewhere like,
it would be Marco Rubio. That's what it would be.
You know, it's like, but you know, Buttigieg just like, just clap back and be like, so you're going to deregulate the railroad. You're going to vote, or you're not going to vote, but you're going to be, you say you had nothing to do with it.
Against his will.
Against his will, which is great because now we're going to do something that you want to do, right? Which is vote for more like protection. Like, you know, yes, I want more money to go towards inspection. Yeah. So but on your clock, this is what happened. You know, deregulation, less inspections. But so it's Buttigieg's fault that this happened?
Marco Rubio doesn't even show up to work, okay? And he's talking crap. Look, but you know, but again, like all that energy that we keep on sending, you know, old Mayor Pete, right? All that energy is working because he's able to combat people like this. He doesn't stay quiet.
With facts.
With facts. Yeah. And usually with their own shit.
And a little bit of like gay kind of like, are you trying to read me? Because let me tell you what's happening right now. But in a politically correct way to just sort of like, you know, make you shut up.
Yes. Like I kind of imagine in my mind when he takes that first breath to answer, he's thinking, no tea, no shade. And then it goes, bah!
He's got his first thought, like the way he really wants to tell you, and then they spin it the right way to just tell you exactly what needs to be told with a little bit of sazon.
A little sass. But that's the only way to get ahead, honey. That's the only way. Like, we've got to play their game, and Pete Buttigieg is like the only one really doing so.
And imagine if you just like stop blaming everybody. It's not your fault, it's your fault, it's your... What if it wasn't an election year? Let's just... Too bad. It's an election year, so it's everybody's fault, and, you know, we want to vote. But what if we just stopped blaming and just started, okay, what do we need to get done? What needs to happen? Stop blaming, you know, that's the problem. It's like everything is about Republican and everything is about Democrat and everything is about your fault and your fault. And if it's your fault, then I win. And if I win, then, but what about the people of Palestine? Are they winning right now? Like, can you drink the water in Palestine?
No, they can't.
No, they cannot. I wouldn't drink the bottled water in Palestine. No, thanks.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So, did you enjoy the show? I know you did. So make sure to click subscribe so you won't miss any of the events, news, or interviews right here on the Faye What Show. Ring the bell at the bottom of the screen, right there, so you'll be alerted every time we're live. You can also click on the Happening Out Television Network logo so you can see all of the shows on the most diverse LGBTQ+ media network. Find out just what we're doing to bring the L and the G together right here on the Faye What Show. Get the week started with me.